Hello everybody and welcome to the Real Housewives Edit. My name is Elle and I'm here to talk about the two loves of my life, editing and housewives. Okay, we are back in Potomac, continuing our to be continued from last week's episode. I absolutely loved the beginning of this episode, so I wanted to break it down with you guys today. Thank you so much for subscribing, liking the video. Your comments are amazing every single day. The first thing I do is check my YouTube Studio app just to see all of your guys' comments because they're so insightful, they're so amazing, they make me think, they make me go, oh my gosh, I need to be more thorough because you guys are so thorough, and so I'm so appreciative. Please keep those comments coming. I really, really appreciate it. So without me just talking your ear off about all the things that I want to talk your ear off about, since I feel like now we're friends, let's just jump right into it.
Mia's my girl, right? I love Mia, but that was completely unnecessary.
But Ashley, both sides were unnecessary.
Okay, so we start out while we see this establishing shot of Miami. They put a chyron in there that says Miami Night 1. They're reminding the audience where we are. Remember, we started last week, we had a to be continued after the big incident between Mia and Wendy. So they have to remind us this is the first night, we are here in Miami, and you overhear Ashley's voice, and then you cut to the actual scene where we left off last week. And the last thing that we see here, before I stop this video to talk to you guys, was Jacqueline, Mia's friend, closing the door on the SUV. If you remember, that's where we left Mia and Jacqueline last time. Jacqueline was in the SUV and Mia was in the SUV. And remember, they had that shot of Jacqueline where she's sort of like through a rear view mirror. The reason that they showed Jacqueline closing the car door, even though we know as an audience she was already in there, is because they kind of need to establish again and remind us again that that's where Mia and her crew are. Now, did that actually happen in that moment? Did she close the car door again? When I was first watching this, I was like, oh my gosh, they just threw that in there because they wanted us to be reminded that they were in the car. But I also remember that with the SUV, the person who's kind of in those middle seats has to get out before someone, climbs over to get in the back seats. So when I was watching it, I was like, did someone get in the car? But why wouldn't they show that? This is where my nerd brain is going. We'll just keep going and I'll let you guys know from here.
I need to come home.
I'll get you a ticket. You leave in the morning?
Okay.
Can I get a ticket home? Because I'm not staying in the same house with her.
Okay, so just so we're clear, no one else got in that car there. So really we were just showing Jacqueline closing the door to remind us that her and Mia were inside the car while everyone else was still at the dinner table. And now we get into some fun sort of fourth wall breaking stuff.
House with her. I'm telling you, I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to her room and I'm her up. This professor before that, I'm Wendy.
You got her?
Okay, so I absolutely loved that line.
This professor before that, I'm Wendy.
I think it's classic. I think it will go down in Wendy's history. What they did there was, instead of having the camera on Wendy, which they may not have had a camera on Wendy. If you guys remember that hot mic moment with Wendy before.
I'm okay. Outside of me and Karen, I'm probably the only one that's trying to give her a chance. But she's lying, so who cares? We all know she's lying.
They didn't have a camera on her. All they had was her audio, and they showed footage of the dance studio, and it gave us sort of this like suspenseful feel. It's the same thing here. It definitely makes us lean in because we don't see her. All we see are the backs of producers' shirts. We see, someone in the crew running up the stairs. So we see some stuff going on behind the scenes while we're hearing this really juicy audio from her.
You got her?
I got her.
All right. Now, Mia, on a serious note, I urge you to stand and wait.
It's not that serious to me. I don't need
I
this.
know it's not, babe.
You didn't have my back.
Sweetie, 2 wrongs don't make it right now. I've always said that.
Okay, so now we have Karen. She's approached Mia's SUV and now she is kind of talking to her about the situation. My last video, I talked about how I think Karen's a great friend, and I had so many of you comment like, Karen is not a great friend. She rides the fence. She should have totally defended Wendy. She didn't really defend either of them, and that's kind of what she does. And the more I read that comment, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of true. Why do I think Karen's such a great friend? I guess I relate to her a lot lot. She's kind of trying to be peacemaker, but in that way, she also is making mistakes by not standing up for people. I don't really see her as someone who's just trying to be a flip-flopper. I see her more as like, I'm like the oldest of the group. I'm like maybe a little bit of the mom of the group, and I need to be a peacemaker between everyone, no matter who's wrong. So I think that's kind of what I meant by it. But you know, you guys really were like, she's not, and you're wrong. And I take that fearless feedback. I appreciate it.
And I've always said that I'm not going to change for you either, sweetheart. Now, baby, you didn't mean it.
She sat there and she talked about G. Like, what
sweetheart,
world
no,
do you
don't
live
do that to
in?
me.
So what they're really cutting back and forth between these two angles, you can see this is really dark. Like they don't have any lights. This is obviously like behind a building. There's no lights around it. But I do kind of like that about Potomac as a franchise. The women are not always interested in finding their light. You'll see it on Beverly Hills, and you'll even see it in Atlanta and some of the more established franchises. The women know their angles, they know where the lights are, so they don't get into a dark car because it doesn't, you know, necessarily show them in the best light. Or when they do get in a dark car, you know, they pull down the sunshade and open up the thing so you get this nice warm light on their face. They know all of these little tricks. The women in Potomac, to me, just feel like they're just kind of living their lives. And I know there's stuff put on, don't get me wrong. I'm not that naive, but I do feel like, you know, they got into a dark SUV. There's no lights on them. We have these two angles. We have one that's going straight through the windshield, and we have one that's going over Karen's shoulder where you can see Jacqueline and you can see Mia. It's kind of Karen's point of view.
Don't do that to me. Two wrongs, okay? Tossing and lying. Y'all canceled each other motherfucking out. I'm sorry, I'm getting mad.
Mia has this philosophy.
So I'm just fascinated to see how many camera angles they had and how one of those feels like it's kind of like a dash cam inside the vehicle, but it's the same quality as the other. It doesn't have that like kind of dash cam, you know, ring cam quality to it. There's at least 4 camera people here, maybe 3, maybe 1 inside the car, and that person's going back and forth from Karen to the 2 shot on Mia and Jacqueline. Also, do you guys see the camera person behind Karen? Now there's all those camera angles, obviously, but you can see the camera person, and they actually blurred out this person's face. I think it's a he. Honestly, it helps him kind of blend into the background more, but he probably just didn't want to be on screen, didn't want to be seen, so they blurred out his face, but it's very hard to see again with the low light. I so wish we could just turn around and be on the other side and I could just see everything and then be able to point it all out to you guys. One of these days I'll get a little bit more insight on everything and be able to clue you in.
Mia has this philosophy that even if my friend is wrong, I'm gonna ride or die with him. Well, both your asses were wrong. I'm not the one that invited Charisse on my birthday weekend. Do you have my back?
Okay, so Karen is definitely doing her housewife thing where she's definitely maybe in this whole situation has been holding a little bit of resentment. We all know that this birthday weekend means a lot to her in a very special birthday way. And she's upset that Charisse was invited. Let's just be honest. It comes out in her confessional where she says, like, you know, why am I gonna have your back if you invited my enemy on my birthday weekend trip? Karen's being kind of petty, which we love. And it's very housewives stuff. She's like, I'm gonna be on, you know, I'm not just gonna be on your side just because I'm your friend. You know, I think you guys are both wrong. And we kind of see her walking away from the car as we have that voiceover from the testimonial.
Just take a moment. Let's just chill.
Is it happy birthday to me yet?
Happy
It ain't midnight yet, baby girl.
So then they cut back to the table. One thing I was just gonna say, you know, Jacqueline is a friend of, she's brought in by Mia. And I wrote this on my community tab the other day, but I honestly think Jacqueline is one of the quintessential friend ofs. I had one of you geniuses out there write a comment and say I should do a breakdown of the different friend ofs in the different franchises and over the history. And I thought that was so genius. And then when I was watching this and I saw Jacqueline and I was like, she's the epitome of a friend of, I thought about you who wrote that comment. I'll have to look back and find you, but it was just so smart. And I'm going to do a breakdown of friend ofs and how they work into storylines in the best way and what makes good ones and what makes bad ones just from an editorial standpoint.
Thank you.
Oh gosh.
Oh, you ordered dessert?
Yes, I did, of course.
Oreos.
Okay, so they cut back to these women, sitting at the table. Like I said, you guys know what I'm gonna say. Everyone's probably annoyed with hearing it. But truly, we had a darker moment where Karen's talking to Mia, and Mia's like calling her out and saying, you didn't have my back. It's just not a good situation. And they come back, and Gizelle is ordering dessert and just having fun with it. And now they're gonna kind of make this a light moment. Not only is it just like a light moment, but I also think it definitely builds the character for us of Charisse and Robyn and Gizelle. It's a weird vibe. I'm down for people being like unaffected, and obviously it wasn't their fight to have, so they're allowed to be and act however they want, but there's something about it that feels almost celebratory that some drama went down, which honestly is a little bit relatable. Not like I would be celebrating that my friends, had some serious drama go down, but I think us as viewers maybe can relate to that, because when major drama goes down, we get a little bit excited about it. We head to the internet, we head to YouTube, we do all of the things. So maybe there's something relatable to that. But I think just as friends of these two women that just had this serious thing go down, they just seem a little bit like almost too excited about what just happened. I don't know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your opinion.
Oreos has a lot of the stomach. Y'all want an Oreo? A red velvet Oreo?
Really?
Yeah.
Gizelle leaves no dessert behind.
So again, then the music comes in.
Really?
Yeah.
Gizelle
Distracting from the drama in a good way, giving us a breather, making some character development stuff, and letting us learn more about Gizelle, that she doesn't leave dessert behind, etc.
behind, okay? Bloody fingers, purses flying, I don't care.
Okay.
Where's Wendy?
I would like to check on Mia.
Okay, so I thought that was a really strange cut. They had, Ashley saying,
Okay.
Where's Wendy?
and then they cut to Gizelle.
I would like to check on Mia.
It feels very much like she's kind of saying like, I don't care about Wendy, but I care about Mia. That's the vibe. I just wonder, like, this would be a good place where someone could say, oh, I got a bad edit. There's a world where she could have said, Wendy's over there, I would like to check on Mia, or something where she kind of affirmed where Wendy was instead of just blowing past Ashley and just going straight to Mia and making it seem like she doesn't care about Wendy. There is a world where she said something that was caring about Wendy, they chopped that off and just went straight to the Mia line. In that example, that would be a good way for editors to do sort of a bad edit. That would be taking something out that someone said that is favorable to their character and making them feel like they didn't say that. That can make them look bad. But ultimately, I think it all comes out in the wash. It all comes out eventually, so.
Mia. I would like to check on Mia.
I would like to give her a moment, Gizelle. Both of this was wrong.
Absolutely.
I do feel like you didn't try to.
So Karen says, we gotta give her a moment. And then you see they cut to the ice cream while Karen says,
Both of this was wrong.
Now, I just want you guys just to ruin your viewing experience. Anytime you see coverage of B-roll stuff, meaning like stuff on the table, people's hands, the back of someone's shirt, or a reaction shot or something like that, while dialogue is going on, for the most part, they are manipulating that dialogue. Now, do I mean manipulating like making them say something they didn't say? No, absolutely not. Usually it just means they're shortening the conversation to make the story move a little bit faster, but also make sense. There's a lot of ways that you can shorten a conversation, but if you kept the camera like on Karen and shortened her conversation, it would look weird and cutty. So what they do is I've told you guys this before, they use coverage with B-roll, so then they can cut right to her saying, this was crazy, this shouldn't have happened, and it makes sense, it moves the story forward, but it doesn't look all choppy and weird in the edit.
And try to diffuse the situation.
Girl, my ass was trying to get the up out of here. Y'all were not sitting between the two of them. Oh, girl, I can't fight. I know.
So you could really see it there, right? So Karen's really defending herself against this weird accusation. I don't know why everyone's blaming Karen for not getting in the middle of this. It's the strangest thing. But anyway, she's kind of defending herself, and you can tell this was like a long speech that she gave, but they're cutting it up because they have to make the episode move. So you see they cut to, Gizelle cutting her food, and they cut to Robyn, kind of in between of what Karen's saying, so that they could smoothly take a longer monologue that she said and make it just a few lines.
You okay?
I'll be okay.
Okay. Well, apparently she's talking about going home.
Who, get Mia?
Yeah, she should go.
So this was the weirdest cut of this entire scene for me, because you have Ashley saying, you know, are you okay? And they kind of cut to Ashley walking behind this car. So you're like, okay, I'm walking behind this car, and you see the dialogue on the screen of Wendy and Ashley speaking. But then when Ashley mentions she doesn't say Mia. Editors cut to Mia to remind us this is the she's talking about. And then they cut to the car, the outside of the SUV where Mia is sitting. I was just kind of confused, because I was like, we are in a different SUV that now Ashley and Wendy are in? Are they now in an SUV? Why are we showing this cut of Mia and then this cut of the Suburban? I really thought it was a strange cut. Like, I bet you anything the editors look back at that and they don't like love that cut, because it was also very short. Like, it didn't breathe for long enough. There's just something about it that was strange. That was just me being a total nerd. But now we cut to actually Ashley and Wendy, and they're sitting on some steps. I really wonder why they used that coverage of the SUV and of Mia's face. I know they had to cut to Mia to remind us who Ashley was talking about, but the reason why they cut to the Suburban, we'll never know. Maybe they just didn't have good video of the ladies sitting down at the stairs for whatever reason. I have no idea.
She should go home. She committed assault. Who throws a drink?
Well, for me, it's the second thing.
You saw that?
Almost in slow motion. I watched
you saw that for it?
You got one more time.
So, you know, they have to do the flashback there. It did seem like Wendy's mic was a little bit strange just at the beginning of that exchange.
She should go home. She committed assault.
It almost felt like it was doubled up a little bit, and that it was a little bit echoing. Now, you know, sound issues can cause a lot of problems. So I'm wondering if maybe that coverage from before was to cover something. Maybe they changed a mic pack. I have no idea. I'm really curious why, but I don't know if that's just my ears or if it actually happened. So now they're flashing back to the actual purse scene. I talked to you guys about this in my last video. I was so confused why they cut to sort of this angle with all the ladies in it when Mia was actually hitting her with the purse. And I think it's because there's probably something to do with the rating on TV, that they're not allowed to show that much violence like in plain view, because they obviously had the other side. It's so interesting just seeing Ashley and Wendy talk. I'm just like, I just feel for Wendy so much here. I can just tell she's trying to be strong. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but I definitely can, where you're in a moment, you're embarrassed maybe from your own behavior. You kind of went out of what you normally typically do. Your adrenaline is pumping. You've just had someone do something to you that you know is not right. If it was me, I'd be crying like a puddle on the floor, but Wendy's not. And I just am like, wow, she's really trying, you know, not trying, she's being strong and holding it all together here, but I'm just like, Wendy, just let it out. Like, I just can feel that sort of, she's putting up those walls that we know that she puts up. And I know later in the episode, you know, she does say, I've been crying all night. So she just reminds me of someone who like waits to get home, and then she just fell apart like by herself and probably called her husband and did all that, but just obviously on camera. But maybe with these women, she's just like, I can't show vulnerability to them because they will use it against me later, which a lot of them will. So she's right.
Hi guys, this was great. Amazing. Oh my gosh.
Our party
stopped.
It was horrible.
It was but the food was good. I have
Okay, so I know Gizelle's like being funny there, but again, it's like light moments. Like, I think Gizelle's a great housewife for editors, because she, even in the dark stuff, she will create some light moments out of it. And it feels almost a little catty, and it has like a weird film to it that not all of us love, but it's very housewives, and so it works.
I have whiplash.
I didn't do nothing wrong.
How do you feel going back to the house and stuff?
I don't.
So I have no idea how long this conversation between Ashley and Wendy, but you do see there's this like giant shadow on Ashley's face when it comes back in here. I don't know if someone stepped in front of the light. I don't know if the light changed. I don't know how long this conversation went on. We don't know if it went on at the same time as those ladies were leaving the table. We don't know space and time, but it really works very nicely for this cross-cutting between the two scenes.
I don't think I want to be in the house.
I don't want to be in a place where I can be physically attacked. And I'm questioning whether I still want to be on.
And there it is again. Like, this is not an editorial note, but there it is again. You can hear when she's actually in the scene with Ashley. She's like, I feel like she's like swallowing some emotion, and I just like feel for her.
On this trip.
She's so lucky I didn't wear my straight wig, because I would have been pissed. Like, I swear, she's lucky I got my curly because the girls that were more than like, oh, I would have been on fire. Okay.
So they really hung on that laugh for quite a while with Ashley.
I would have been on fire.
Which I thought was just really sweet. I think it really solidified to me that like Ashley and Wendy have sort of a nice friendship, or maybe there is something there that's kind of budding between them. Just the way that Ashley was so kind of genuine in that laugh, and they really like let the camera sit on her, not just like give her one little smile and then cut away. They let it kind of breathe, and also Wendy's being so like she's making light of this situation that obviously really affected her, and it's just good kind of fun to watch and very relatable stuff, and that's why they leave that stuff in. It makes us feel like, oh, I remember a moment where like I was trying to make light of something that was like so dark or so hard and hurtful for myself. And you know, sometimes all you can do is make like a joke about it. And so they left it in. And I thought it was really cute. I thought it was really endearing for us, for Wendy and for Ashley.
Okay.
What are we doing?
I'm going to the house.
So then again, we have Jacqueline again getting in the car, which I was gonna point out to you guys. I was like, I think there's too much of Jacqueline getting in the car. But like I said before, I think she has to get out of the car every single time someone wants to get into the car. I think this is an interesting point because they also could have gotten in on Mia's side and Mia could have gotten out. How many times has Jacqueline been the one that's had to get out of the car to let someone in the car? I think it does kind of, like, this is such a deep cut, but it does kind of lend itself. Like, Mia definitely, she's bossy to Jacqueline. She's kind of rude to Jacqueline. She kind of treats her bad. We've seen it over this trip, even though she says, you know, that's my ride or die, or I'm ride or die for her. There is like an element of I run this show with you know, Mia over Jacqueline. And that little car thing was such a small little thing. But every time I noticed it, I was like, that's like so annoying that she has to keep getting out of the car. That's funny.
I'm going to the house. I'm gonna go on the other side.
I go on the other side.
Where have you been?
Woo.
Okay, your mother.
Where's Charisse? She's
Okay,
coming
your
too.
mother.
Oh, here she. All right, come on, y'all.
Ashley, I'm too old to be coming back here.
Okay, I just wanted to talk about Charisse for a second. I actually really like Charisse just as like a person. I'm sure she's like kind of fun to be around. I think it's fun to have her back, but at the same time, I don't personally think Charisse like lends a lot to the franchise. And you guys know I'm talking about the editorial stuff and the production of it. So I'm not just talking about her as a person. Again, I'm sure she's great. I would love to be friends with her. But in the show, she just doesn't add a lot in terms of not just storyline, but she doesn't bolster anyone else's storyline, which is what I really think a great friend of does, like Jacqueline. Jacqueline's always, you know, taking up for Mia. She's also talking some crap about Mia. She'll almost like, you know, translate for Mia. Like Mia will say something and Jacqueline will turn to the group and tell them. There's a deep friendship there, and she's always kind of like setting up the ball for Mia and for Mia's storylines, which I think is what a good friend of should do. Not just for one of the people in there, but they should do it for every single person. They should always be sort of like a catalyst to things happening instead of being the thing happening. She doesn't seem to be curious enough. She doesn't like ask a lot of questions. She maybe tries to get in the action a little bit, but then she also doesn't. Like you just see her kind of like just chilling with the ladies a lot, which is great. And I'm sure like great in a normal life situation. She's a fun hang, but I just don't get a feel of her like she's super interested in all these women and super interested in helping us get to know them better, which I think is what a great friend of does. I'm definitely going to do a video breaking down friend ofs and the best ones and how they add to production and storyline. Anyway, that was just my Charisse moment.
Charisse, no, you're not.
Baby.
Who has my slippers?
You alright?
Okay, so they end with Karen saying,
Who has my slippers?
once the car door closes. Now, we don't know if she actually said it right at that moment, but it worked really well right when she got in the car. Very relatable. Same sort of feeling like when you walk away from dinner and you're like, I just want to get out of these heels. I just want to like put my comfortable clothes on or whatever. It's that vibe, relatable, making Karen closer to the audience. And then they cut to the car with Mia in it. Someone asks how Mia's doing, and she, of course, is, I guess, the victim in this situation. And then they cut to the outside of the SUV driving away. That's really it. I loved this little opening scene. It really set up the rest of the episode for me. I was so enthralled. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing and liking and commenting and doing all the things as usual. And until next time.
Hi, I'm Wendy Osefo. I am a visiting assistant professor at the School of Education.
This professor before that, I'm Wendy.